coming out. I'm Jessica Rooks. I'm the district superintendent of the Colorado Front Range District, which you are all now a part of. You probably know we reorganized the districts in June, and so Colorado Front Range now goes from Castle Rock to Fort Collins, basically, the Front Range. We changed some of the names so all of our district names are geographically based. So no longer do you hear a name and say, where is that? Right, yeah. You know, we tried to make it kind of simple and self-explanatory. So we are the Front Range District. 81 churches and ministries in our district now. So it's been fun for me to get to know new churches. I don't think I have ever been in this building before. Ooh. Yeah, thank you. It's kind of fun. Fun meeting new folks. When I introduce myself at church conferences, I have to give you fair warning. I am one of those clergy who love church conferences. I've always loved church conferences. My colleagues tell me I'm very odd. Not a lot of us really enjoy church conferences, and have for 20 years. I've always liked them. I think you actually can learn a lot about the church from sitting around and talking about ministries in the last year and getting ready for the next year. I think I partly like them because in my first years of ministry, the senior pastor I worked with, he set up church conference as a celebration of the last year and really getting ready for the next year. So we call it the business meeting of the church. If you look at the agenda, we call it sacred business. It is sacred business. This is the ministry of the church, and it sets us up for the next year to do the work that we're called to do. So I come into church conferences having fun. I kind of get giddy this season. When I first became a DS 3.5 years ago, colleagues said, okay, you like it now, but after 40 a year, you're not going to like it. Well, I'm in my 4th year at doing 40 a year, and I still like them. So I'm crossing my fingers that I end my time still enjoying church conference. But it's really a pleasure to be with you all today to do this sacred business and celebrate the church, celebrate St. Paul's and the congregation, and look forward to the next year. So just a little bit about who I am. We have a couple videos that I didn't communicate well with Charles, and so we're not going to play them today, but I'll send them and you can share them with the congregation in any sort of way. It's a video devotion from Bishop Karen. She does a greeting at church conference time to all the local churches. And then there's a video from Church Vitality and Community Engagement, 2 areas of the conference staff whose whole jobs are to support local churches. So we're finding that local churches don't often understand the breadth and the amount of resources we have at the conference office. So they each created a video introducing the staff to the local churches and kind of touching on some of the resources that are available. So they're really kind of more informational videos to let congregations know what's available from the conference office. So we'll have those 2 videos as well. Folks can check out. They're the primary kind of talking from staff, introducing themselves and talking a little bit about what's available. So those are videos that not all of our churches play at church conferences. I find some churches just want a 20-minute meeting and you're done, and others can sit around for 2 hours. So I'm not quite sure where you all fall. We'll figure that one out. The faces when I said 2 hours, I'm guessing that's not you. So we have those videos available to share. But then we get into the sacred business. And the first thing that we do every year is elect a recording secretary. Thankfully, Joey already agreed. No.
I just got handed off.
Hey, this is the 3rd person who's going to do it.
Just a little slow with the rope.
Oh, you're fine. Yes.
We're grateful for Rebecca. She's excellent.
So, Rebecca?
Yes, Rebecca Glancy.
What's your last name?
Glancy.
Oh. Well, thank you for volunteering, for being handed the notebook right as well. If you would approve Rebecca as a recording secretary for today's church conference, please raise your hand.
Yabba dabba do, yes.
All right.
Anyone opposed, which I say means you're volunteering. Any abstentions? All right, thank you, Rebecca.
So I'm not a member, so I read in the discipline that I can't vote.
Correct.
So
Yeah, if you're
well,
not,
I'm
yeah.
not.
No, that's for charge conference. For church conferences, they can.
Professing members. Only professing members can vote. At church conference, yeah. At church conference, only are elected leadership votes. Yeah, we have different ways of having meetings. So a charge conference means only the elected leadership votes. Everybody has voice, but only the elected leadership votes. At a church conference, all professing members, so you have to have joined the church, have votes. Everybody has voice, so you're welcome to ask questions or speak up. Everybody has voice, but only those who have joined the church vote. So we usually do church conferences to try to encourage.
Is this a church conference or a charge conference?
This is a church conference.
Church.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Just be-
yeah, no, it's a good question. If I'm going to say what the two
I
are,
know,
clarify
right.
which one we're at. Yeah.
It
So
says both at the top.
yeah, this is the
Either or.
this is the
Church
generic agenda that we send out that then can get adapted or not.
Okay.
So
And isn't the difference with a charge conference, that's when you have a really big thing to decide, like you're gonna have a big capital funds campaign, or, no? I always thought it was like a big,
No.
how would you distinguish the difference between church and charge?
So every local church, if you get really technical into the book discipline, is a charge. So any formalized ministry, so like some Wesley foundations, that's the college foundations, the college churches, they can be a charge. Anything that kind of really a minister can be appointed to is a charge, because every clergy person has to have a charge relationship. So you are the charge of St. Paul's United Methodist Church. Very rarely do you care about that. That's just kind of the behind the scenes paperwork where that matters. But the basic unit of the body, kind of the overall, who has the most authority in a local church is the charge conference. So that's the official meeting of that charge. Has to be authorized and called by the district superintendent. There's all kinds of things. A church can't just do their own charge conference without the district superintendent getting involved, which is why district superintendents usually preside over the end of the year meetings. So the basic unit is a charge conference. And if you look at the Book of Discipline, there's like 4 pages that explain a charge conference.
Wow.
There's like one sentence or one little paragraph that says any charge conference can be turned into a church conference if the district superintendent allows it.
So you call which one it is?
I ask the clergy what they want. Because I don't know all of the local churches in the way that the clergy do. Some local churches, congregation doesn't really care
Yeah.
about the end of the year stuff, and they're more than happy to let the elected leadership take care of it. Some churches, people show up and want to come be a part of making those end of the year decisions, and the clergy knows that the best. So when I send out the invitation for signing up, it's you tell me if it's a charge or a church conference. I'll authorize either one based on the needs of the church.
Thank you.
Charge conferences are actually often held for the smaller votes. If it's something that's not a big deal, but it needs an official vote, you just kind of have the elected leadership who've been working on it. If you're going to do a capital campaign, if you're going to vote, what are some of the church ones that have been called? One church was deciding whether or not to do solar panels, and they wanted everybody involved so that it was a church-wide decision, and so they did a church conference.
So it really is linked to who's doing the voting.
It's all about who's doing the voting.
Yeah.
If it's something that really it's better off if the entire church is able to vote, you do a church conference. If it's really this just needs the official vote and the leadership has been working on it and you just do the official vote, you do a charge conference. A quorum is everyone present and voting.
Oh,
That's what the discipline says. Those
okay.
present and
So
voting is the quorum.
It's done.
Mhm.
There's no question.
Whoever shows up. Yep.
That's quite a quorum.
Yep, I did a charge conference last week and 3 people were the quorum. They're a small congregation, so, yeah.
Oh, thank you, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're
well,
in
I'm
the
more
church.
confused.
We're having a church conference. I know, just know if you're a member, you get to vote today. If you're here, you have total voice and participation other than voting. So that's most people don't ask that question. I kind of have fun explaining those things, but most people don't even kind of know to ask those questions. So the next item is the report of the pastor. It's not a vote, it's simply your pastor, having a chance to give their report for the year.
Well, I don't want to read the whole thing, because you are capable of doing that. We'd like to just highlight a couple things. first, our membership has stabilized. We're holding steady at 86 full members, and another 85, and then another 50 are on the constituent roll. And thanks to Michelle for doing the directories, those will be out.
They're out.
Oh, they're out.
So tomorrow you can get them.
Oh,
So,
today you can
You
get
can get
them.
them today, you sneak in.
That's true.
So I think that's good news. We've cleaned up the roll, trying to make sure that the folks who are on the roll are participating in some fashion. One of the things that I try to do wherever I go is to help people realize that joining the church, you don't join because your grandmother is a member or because you've been gone for 30 years, but if you've been gone 30 years and you want to keep your name on the roll because you want to be buried here, to me, that's not a sufficient reason to keep someone on the roll.
As a member.
Yes, they can go on the constituent roll
Sure.
and at any time request to come back on, and that's how I always approached it. So this year we brought in 3 new members, and we I think lost 3, 2 by death and 1 by request to take his name off the roll. And yes.
Would Caroline Whalen's name be added for removal or not?
Uh,
I think
Oh, she's not on the membership roll right now because I've already taken her off.
Okay.
But I didn't put her yet on the by death category because it happened after these were printed. So if you want to add her, but she'll be listed next year.
Okay.
And on the narrative, I just want to highlight just a couple of things. One, you can see on the first page, it says pastoral report. I wanted to thank you all for giving me the time in August to do a renewal week. First time I've ever done that in 20-some years. So thank you. And for the 4 who, or 5 rather, who gave the message that month, I really appreciate it. And just so you'll know, the website and the blog are up to date. I find that relaxing, doing that kind of stuff. Jessica mentioned the Liking Charge Conference. I love a good forum. I love.
That's why we get along.
I read them.
Yay, yay.
When I was an Army officer, I was in the administrative field, and one of my jobs at my first assignment was over in charge of the publications office. So they published all Army regulations, and I had to look at them and sign off on them. So if you look in the library at some commands, my signature is probably still there. And so I love a good form. I mean, I used to read the manual for court martial just for the fun of it.
Do you read the Book of Discipline
Oh,
for the
yeah.
fun of it?
Yeah. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. And then, as part of my extended ministry, I am involved in a number of things at the district and conference level, and those are listed there. I just want to point out that we have, I think, is it 4 on the Wesley board now that you're gone? Belinda came off, or is coming off now,
I just,
and
Sandy Bainbridge is about to
Sandy
go on.
Bainbridge
So
is coming
the
on.
Wesley Foundation chair is from our church, Don Berlin. We have the trustees, Bobby Dahlstrom from our church on this board. We have Tim Cook as SPRC for Wesley Foundation. I was on and now, but I'm coming off, but Sandy Bainbridge is going on. I mean, we have, if I missed anybody, we have quite a few, like almost half the board is from this church because there's a wonderful relationship
And so-
with them.
The connectional part of what we do we take that seriously and we enjoy that work. Another thing is the mission shares. We have a long-standing tradition of paying mission shares here.
Full mission shares.
Full mission shares. And I thank everybody who makes that part of our mission priority, and we'll take a vote on that later on. And one of the things that I appreciate here is the appreciation for education. And so I listed some of the, or all the webinars and certificates that I worked on the last year, just because there's a lot of things out there I don't know and I'm interested in learning more about. So thank you for that. And then just on the areas of growth, one of the things, and I was telling our DS before we came in, 40% of our full members, no, 40% of the constituent and membership roles, 135 people, 40% live within the city limits of Boulder. 47% live between Berthoud and Longmont, all the way down to Goldie. So we draw from a wide.
The neighborhood church has kind of become a county church.
And then we have another, I think, 11% who are out of state, like the Richardsons, 2 in the military, 2 in college. And you'll note on the form, the path report, no, it's just down there. We have 2 in college, and Lily Berlin and Ben Glancy. Ella Berlin is not listed because she's not a full member. She never actually joined the church. So that's, if you have a question about that. In fact, on the membership, I color-coded them and show you, so you can see just at a glance who's who. And that's why Ella isn't listed as a college student. And you'll see tomorrow, or you can see today if you go in the sanctuary, the mitten tree has a lot on it, and the toy table for Effa is groaning. And that's because this is a very generous group of people. And Belinda last week put out an appeal for some students and families up at Fairview.
The high school on the hill, just up the hill's high school. 3
of the people getting, it was an appeal for food because Christmas break is coming up. The 3 of the 11.
She asked for support for 11 students who are food insecure during the holiday break.
3 of those students are homeless.
3 are homeless.
And so they're getting some food that they'll be able to, that's portable. And then the other 8 are families who are really in need right now. So, and if you look in the closet here in the hallway where the choir stoles are, there's must be 20 bags right now. And they're heavy.
Can I just share something? I know this is probably not the right time, but I just have to share with you. There's such a thing as compassion fatigue, and we're very aware of that. And we didn't want to overwhelm people by giving too many asks this time of year. So sort of the official appeals have been for the mitten tree for our homeless in the area to have warm socks, gloves, scarves, and the toy, Effa, just to get the holiday toy room plussed up with toys. And that we felt like that was a lot of ask. But when Rupali Hoffman, the counselor at Fairview High School, whom we partnered with to help her students who are at risk and in need, when she contacted me and said she had these 11 students who are food insecure, who really need some help. They get breakfast and lunch at school, but without school they don't eat. So I couldn't say no to her, but I didn't want to overwhelm the congregation. So last Saturday, while we were decorating for Advent Christmas season, I asked some key people I thought have open hearts who might be willing to help. And everyone said yes. Everyone couldn't. It was an explosion of yes, what can we do? So the initial concept was, well, we'll get a tote bag from King Super, and we'll fill it with food, and I have to share this with you, and we'll fill it with food and give it to a student. Well, the next thing I know, I went shopping, and this is going to be a long time that they can't eat. So I have it filled. It's too heavy. So can we do 2 bags so they can carry, so it's easier to transport. So then one person in our church family said, we'll do 2 students. So this past week, I happened to be here, and I was about to leave, and I saw this person come in her SUV, and this is a visual. She gets, hi, how are you? And hi, and she goes around, she opens up the back of the SUV. She's pulling out the heaviest duty dolly you've ever seen. It's just this big honking dolly. And she asked, can I help? And she goes, well, the bags are so heavy, I needed to bring the dolly. So she's putting these bags on the dolly and bringing them in. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this symbolizes to me the generosity of this church and the heart that you have for our neighbors in need. And just seeing her with her dolly bringing these heavy bags, it was just a wonderful thing to see.
And the last thing I want to say is, there are 2 organizations, the Sunrise Early Learning Center and the Korean Church, are the only 2 using our building right now. And how do we get the community around us to see this building as a resource? Will be a challenge for us, I think, in the next year. And I think, like I say here, that if there's going to be a church at the corner of Grinnell and Gillespie in 5, 10, or 20 years, the time to take action is now, in terms of attendance, membership, Sunday school classes, whatever ministry calls or speaks to your heart. It's up to us, up to you, to get people to take part. Rebecca and Yovanka are going to be, hopefully,
It's under discussion.
it's under discussion, going to be starting, well, I don't want to get ahead of it, but
I think everybody probably already knows
Yeah.
it's been proposed.
so that's something that we can offer the community.
Yoga classes to our community.
Because we live at, most of you live at a distance from the church building, the ministries that we're engaged in typically don't happen here. So how to help not just the active members, but the inactive people, how do we help them reconnect to the life of St. Paul's, so they see that, worship, Sunday school, choir, the bells are valid parts of their life. So I think, I saw a thing on Facebook the other day, so it has to be true. One of those statistics that comes out, and I think from Pew Research, that said, gave like the top whatever number of reasons why people come to a faith community. And like the next to last one was because of the pastor. Like 86% or whatever it is come because somebody, one of you, invited somebody. That's what attracts people.
Come and see.
Come and see. And so, thank you for letting me be the pastor for, this is the 3rd longest I've lived anywhere in my life, 4.5 years. So, Belinda and I are really grateful to have a parsonage right
Yes.
across the street.
Yes.
I'm really glad to be here, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next year.
That's right.
So, and I put in a report from Dan Daniels, who's, of course, y'all know him. Dan and Bets have moved to, what is it called?
Sunrise,
Sunrise.
Sunrise.
That's what I thought.
retirement community.
Their you know, she's having a little bit harder time adjusting to it than he is, as understandable. But they've really appreciated the cards and the calls that they've gotten. And we had an email the other day from John Daniels up in Missoula, thanking the church family for keeping his parents connected and engaged in the life of the church. And Dan told me the other day that as soon as they got their Wi-Fi hooked up, they were going to be following the services on Sunday morning on Zoom.
Good.
So, and then thanks to particularly Michelle for double checking the membership, but I think that's the first vote. As you see on the page that looks like this, that's the membership report.
Annual report on membership and
Our
worship
attendance overall is 41, which includes a number of people who are not members, visitors, constituents, and so on. So if you look at 41 of 86, that sounds pretty good. It's almost 50%. But that's 41 of 135. So that's still 33, which isn't bad.
There's room for improvement.
I wouldn't mind 410, but let's start here. We got a brand new repaved parking lot, thanks to the trustees, and you know, we have plenty of room. I would love for parking to be our biggest problem in a few years,
Hold on.
or adding a second service. Hey, I'm already up.
And 8 on average with Zoom worship.
Yeah, we're averaging 8 on Zoom. So let people know, let your friends and family in other states know. Hey, if I had an old girlfriend check in.
It's
No.
true, he did.
I won't tell you what she said, but yeah. So the vote, we have 2 people who are being recommended for the first reading in our discipline. It's a 2-year process now. So they'll be listed this year and then again next year. So these are 2 people that live in other states. They're not coming back to Boulder and haven't participated in any fashion in a number of years. And I did talk to Marcy last year about them, and so that's why they're on this list this year.
Heidi Soha and Kelly Smoot.
Yeah. We don't have anybody being voted on for removal this year, and that's the first time since I've been here that we haven't taken that step to remove somebody. And you see Joe Wright's name, he requested to come off, and then not for a vote, but Lily and Ben are listed as per discipline. So,
Actually, we don't need a vote because there's
Yeah.
nobody coming on
oh, that's
for
right.
church conference. So,
I'm sorry.
no, yeah,
I
I
misspoke.
was thinking Joe Wright, but that was removal. So then that's not a vote.
Good.
So no vote, just really good report.
Oh, okay.
Good.
That's what you get for clean records.
Right, really good report. And color coding the membership. Oh my. That makes my heart happy.
And with the
Yes.
little symbols so you can kind of see at a glance. I will have to work on that because yellow may have been a poor choice for colors. but,
Yeah, I was gonna talk to you about that later.
Yellow's great if you change the background to light gray.
So are there any questions about the membership rule? Yeah, we don't have to take a vote on this, but it's there for your information. And, you know, if you see somebody on the constituent roll, encourage them. You know, take that formal step. I know Tim has plenty of room in Sunday school class for a few more seats. I know the Bells have a few vacancies.
I need to go back to 4 octaves.
Yeah, we can go back to 4 octaves. We have the Bells.
Just
so-
waiting.
And so, you know, you've made a commitment to be here. I mean, if there was ever a church conference that you could have skipped, it would have been this one. And I thought it was gonna be Belinda, me,
And then
her,
Matthews.
and maybe the
Glances.
Matthews. Cause I really thought the rest of you would be snowed in. So thank you for being here.
They're determined
No
people.
snow in Berthoud.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the further north you got, the less and less there was.
Wow.
We had 7 inches at my house.
Ooh.
Okay.
See, that's why you volunteer to bring food. Then you have to show up.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
I brought my food in yesterday and just left it here.
Thinking ahead, thinking ahead.
Next up is the leadership report, and in a small church like ours, pretty much if you agree to do something, you're gonna be it until
You find your replacement.
you find a replacement. I forget who told me many, many years ago, there's no such thing as retirement in the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
So, the reason people are listed here is because these are ministries. They're not jobs, they're not
Amen.
positions.
Amen.
These are ministries. So the ministry of being a trustee is an important one. The ministry of fellowship team is an important one. So I wanted to be sure that we're not just listing names to fill slots, but we list names because these are people who are committed to doing the ministry of the church. And so there's no small offices, there's no egos involved, I don't think. But we are blessed with some competent, capable people. And it shows in how well things run. I know they're not offices, but I just want to take a moment and thank Michelle and Rebecca
Yes.
for keeping the administration of the church so
Yes.
smoothly.
Yes.
I've been places where it was a struggle between me and the admin people. And
They're such a great team.
they just get stuff done. We learned during the pandemic that they didn't need to sit there for
In the office.
5 hours a day. They could do most of what they need to do at home. And Michelle gets the messages from her home.
Call
She
forwarding.
just call in and and then she just tells me what I need to know. Rebecca and Michelle both come in to the office to print stuff, but they don't just sit there waiting for something to happen. They get stuff done on their own. So the membership roll or list here, the leadership list, the ones that we have to vote on are shown with the paragraph symbol. It's called a Pilcrow. I didn't know that until just a couple of years ago. It's called a Pilcrow. So the program areas we don't vote on. Those are just there for your information. So the leadership report is before you. And do you want to call for the vote?
Yes. Are there any questions or comments?
Do we have to fill anybody's name in for the lay leadership committee for 2026?
Yes. That is one.
So you can today, you don't have to. At any point throughout the year, the church council has the authority to add members. That's just one of the roles of church council in between church conferences,
Okay.
or church conferences that the church council can add, can affirm new members at any time.
And if you want to volunteer for anything,
Yeah.
you know, hey, trustees needs people, lay leadership needs.
You're always welcome.
So seeing no hands shooting up saying me, is there a second for this report?
It comes out of committee, so it doesn't need it.
Oh,
It comes out of the nominations committee, so it doesn't need a second.
okay. Would you?
So, if you would approve the
Oh.
leadership report, the lay leadership report for 2024, please raise your hand.
Yabba dabba doo.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? And any abstentions? All right.
You see, I've been doing this for a long time, and
We're still learning. That's good. That's good.
This is why she gets the big bucks.
That's
When
right.
you do 40 of them a year. You know, when you're only doing them once a year, remembering all that stuff doesn't work.
Big bucks and all the mail-outs you can drink, right?
So the next report that we need to vote on is the compensation report from me. Thanks to the work of the SPRC or SPPRC, Pastor Parish Relations Committee, and the finance and the flexibility of the ad council to vote online. It's before you. Is there any?
Does everyone understand what the form you're looking at? Sometimes people,
Yeah, I would point out that
Spreadsheet.
I turned 65 in a couple of weeks, and so I am now on Medicare as one of my insurances. So I came off of the conference health plan. So that saved the church, I think it's 11 or 12,000 a year. So
Boy, you are one expensive
I
dude.
am, yeah, yeah.
It was.
So that's one big change.
So now it's gone from about 12,000 to about just under 5,000.
Yeah, and that's because, thanks to the SPRC and finance, they recommended that my Social Security premium be picked up by the church. So that's why there's health costs still. One thing to keep in mind, on the day, a long time from now, if the bishop calls and says, I'm moving you to wherever, a new pastor coming in, if he's full-time, he or she, they are full-time, would be, the health costs would kick back in if they're
Under 65.
So just keep that in mind, that's, you know, down the road, that might be an issue. So, are there any questions that you can ask Larry or myself? I don't see anyone. Is anyone here from finance?
So, Bob is at the dress rehearsal for Generations tonight,
Oh, that's right.
and so he asked me to field any questions for the finance. We talked this morning, and as chair of the SPRC, we met recently to evaluate the pastor and his service here. And there's a little report we wrote in the annual report here, but we continue to think that this is a good fit here, Pastor, and we thank Charles and Belinda for the many ways they've helped out through these changing times. And we endorsed a raise, and we discussed this with the finance committee, and a raise is included in the pastor salary for the next year.
What's the difference between under ordained AM and then the other?
Yeah, I am a full member of the annual conference. I'm an ordained elder, and so that's why I'm full time. You know, that's my role here. So the conference sets minimum pay, and then the church can go above that, but they can't go below that. And so the associate member is AM, LLP is licensed local pastor, and then COS is course of study. So those are all different
Types of appointments.
scales.
So we have a minimum kind of based on credential and education level. So fully ordained, associate member, all receive a higher minimum because of their credentials and education. Licensed local pastors, there's kind of two categories: licensed local pastors who are still taking their education, and LLPs who have completed their education, that's course of study. So we value an educated clergy body as a conference. And so once you've completed your education, you raise to a higher minimum salary. So one way to kind of really show that value in education is you make more if you've completed your education than if you haven't. So that's what, and we love acronyms as a United Methodist denomination. We just love them. So Yes, AM, LLP, COS. So really, those two categories are are your credentials and your level of education. Higher credential, higher education, higher minimum.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes.
Yeah, not a lot of people ask that. And I always wonder if people look at that and go,
Are they really looking or not? This is
So
a very
I do have a
intelligent
question.
congregation.
you have HealthFlex in here, so it's added into the computation, but it's not actually, the church isn't
Right.
being charged that full amount.
Right.
So
Uh,
the total church budget impact will be a little less than
No.
85.
No, these numbers, those numbers came from Jana.
Right.
So I took the numbers that she sent me.
Yeah, she didn't do that right. Because that 14,000 should come out, and you should have, how much is the church covering for your, for your,
4,000 something. It's 4,176, right?
that's
No,
your
that's
UMPIP.
it's
No.
UMPIP.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what you,
Well, okay,
No.
that should be,
that, UMPIP is what,
E3,
Yeah.
yeah,
E3.
medical reimbursement.
so that comes out of your salary. That
Right.
box comes out of your
Right.
salary, rather than the church covering.
Right.
So if the church is covering the, what was it, about 5,000 for the
Right,
social
just
security?
under. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jenna didn't do this right, I'm sorry. The 14,000 should go away and about 5,000 should be added. So we can approve this number today because it won't go above it,
Correct.
but I'll work with Jenna to get you a correct one.
Okay.
Because the 14 should actually just come off, and then the 5,000 for your social security should go into a different box. Which means you're coming in about 10,000, 9,000 less than this 85,000 figure.
I don't see where the 14,000 is.
I don't either.
H3
Aha.
is HealthFlex.
Thank
and
you.
Okay.
That's the cost for health insurance
The-
for a
okay.
full-time
Yeah.
clergy person.
But that needs to come out because he's not
Right,
getting,
so
yeah.
typically
the
when
church isn't
someone
paying it.
is over 65,
I
Right.
see,
the
right.
below in H4, we take away 14,000 because there's no way to actually delete that number. It's one of those cells that's pre-programmed. So you would minus 14,000
On H5?
on H4,
Yeah,
Or it's
no, I
white.
got that, but I mean, okay.
and then probably add the social security
So
number.
you'd have
So
that,
you're
it's a fixed number, but then you have
Well,
minus
the-
that, so
yeah.
it would come out.
well, see, that all comes out of your
Because
salary.
that's apparently, that's.
So this is,
14
it,
comes
box
off of this.
E
I think they
starts with
did
what
this,
your
and I think in the
50,000
next
is,
box
and
they
then
just have
those are
minus that
deductions
number,
Oh, I
just so
see.
it
out
would
of your
equal, 'cause I
salary.
think
So
this
if the
is
church
set.
is paying for your social security, then it's
Right.
not a deduction from your salary. So we wouldn't put it in box E,
Right.
because that would come out of your paycheck,
Right.
rather than the church picking it up. So sometimes it's an A3, taxable payment in lieu of health insurance. Or it would go in optional for H4. So it would either be an A3 or an H4 would be the social security figure.
So I have an earlier form, which before it went to the district office, which says $4,893.88 is A3 taxable payment in lieu of health insurance.
Yeah, that's the
And
amount.
so I have actually another form. We might check to see whether this form is right
hand
and
it
sign
to
this
her?
one.
Does
It's-
it take away the 14,000 in H3? I'm sorry that
H3,
the conference messed it up. That's-
There's a HealthFlex, but there's no 14,000 listed
Ah.
in,
And
Uh,
H3.
there's no 14,000 listed in H3.
Okay, so what is the H5 total in that, on that form?
It's 11,136.04.
Okay, and then what is the total church budget impact on
Um,
the very bottom left?
On the bottom left is 77,016.24.
77,016.
So I have this form here, and it's also available. It was an electronic form, but if this one is correct, we could sign it, or if it's not correct, we can wait for the correct one.
Do you wanna look
and
at
sign.
it, Jessica?
That's more correct than this.
Seems to be. from what
yeah,
you're saying,
Hey Larry, is that the number that the finance team approved? at
This
our-
is the number from finance that was electronically sent by the finance chair, and I brought a copy of
Good
it.
thing.
And as I say,
Very glad
it
you
differs slightly from the form that's in the church report here. I just noticed this morning, I'm sorry.
No,
yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these I got this from
You wanna make
the
a copy of
conference,
Read the HR person.
HR person.
Didn't you send that one to the HR,
Yeah.
to Jana, and then she came back with this one?
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys were right. Jana doesn't usually mess up, so this is really weird.
yeah, that's,
It's super weird. She rarely makes a mistake, but
So
I think
Belinda's
you guys
making a
were right.
copy of the one the finance committee sent to Jana.
okay,
She's making a copy of it right now. It's also available as electronic attachment.
okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
So if I understand everything you just said, the HR person has a number that's higher, we have a number that's lower. The problem would be that if we voted on that and the HR person said it was wrong, then we voted on a number that's lower, which is a problem. If
So-
we voted the number that's higher and it goes lower, there's no problem.
Yes and no. We could approve both pending final approval because any change to a compensation package is technically supposed to have a charge conference vote. We would have to have another charge conference just to approve. That's why this is all book of discipline. Any change up or down to a compensation package requires a charge conference vote. We could approve both pending final approval from the conference, and then we don't have to have another vote, another meeting.
Let's do that.
That's actually the simplest, even though it sounds like it's not. We could look at both, and folks could approve both based on final review by HR in the conference. Which sounds kind of stupid, but is actually, saves us from having a whole nother meeting.
And
Oh.
HR is likely to approve either, I mean, what if they come up with a third something? They won't.
She
Okay.
won't,
They
yeah.
won't. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just, I'm wondering if she missed your, that you were
Maybe.
off of Health Flex.
Right.
And she doesn't usually, I mean, she doesn't make mistakes like this. So that's really
And
surprising.
it threw me because I just
Right.
assumed,
Huh.
I didn't even
Thank
look
you.
at that.
No, yeah, I mean, usually Jana's right, yeah.
Here you go, hon.
Question?
Yes, as I understood the discussion of the finance team,
One set for
only
you, one for Jessica.
that number on Larry's form is the amount we can afford to compensate
Oh,
the pastor.
okay,
We do not have the money to pay
for the extra,
$85,000 in the next year. If we send both of these to the conference and the conference comes back saying the $85,000 is correct, we'll have a big problem.
okay, that's good to know.
This one they're talking about is 77.
Yes.
016, yeah.
Yeah, we have $77,000 available in our budget.
Okay, well, let's just work with that one. If Jana comes back and we need something, then I'll reach back out. But if that's what you can afford, then we're not gonna approve 8,000 higher if you can't afford it.
Which is still a pay raise.
And it could just be that if it's simply that the numbers are in the wrong boxes,
Right.
that we don't call a meeting for.
Okay.
We do not call a meeting to just rearrange boxes. What you're approving is that bottom line number, the 77,000. If it's like, 100 off because of some movement, we also don't call a meeting for that. If it's 10,000 off, then we would have to revisit. If it's even a few thousand off, we'd revisit. If it's a couple hundred because some boxes get moved, then we just work with finance and SPR. Which might not technically be right for Book of Discipline, but I don't think you all want to come back just for a couple $100. That's where we work with the leadership. So then, don't look at the form in your packet. Look at, so we're gonna take away the 14,000 out of HealthFlix. We're gonna add almost 4,900 to 8.3.
Uh-huh.
Bottom line figure, $77,016.24.
Right, okay.
Are we clear on, are we,
You said
Clear as mud.
49, or is that the E?
Taking away
or A3
A3,
is almost 4,900, 48.93.
we're adding and taking
Yeah,
away.
so when the church-
14.
When the church pays the pastor in lieu of health insurance, that's taxable for IRS. That's why it goes up there.
If you want fun, you ought to see a pastor's tax.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
So-
any
Yep.
questions? Thank you for letting us work that out so that we have the correct numbers. Thank you for having the other form. Sorry about the conference mistake. We will get this corrected.
Glad you had that, Larry.
Yeah.
All right, if you would approve Charles' 2024 annual clergy compensation package at $77,016.24, would you please raise your hand? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it passes. Thank you. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I've never had that happen.
Yeah, oh yeah. Be weirded out all day from that one. Jana does not make those mistakes. All right, well, thank you all for being so gracious with that. The next item is the church's commitment to mission shares. This is where I get to thank you for your participation in paying full mission shares and being committed to that. But not only is it about mission shares, it's about connectionalism. And man, if you take a look at Charles' report and the ways that he is connected at the district and the conference level, that is exciting. Because not only does it mean your clergy person's connected, but it means your church is connected. And then in the work that you all do with the Wesley Foundation, you are a connectional church. You understand what that means.
Tim is on the district nominations, and you've been doing that for a while.
I was on the former district nomination. I was going to talk to you later.
Okay, I have not been given your name.
Tim
And
Cook.
Linda is very active at the conference level for United Women in Faith.
Right.
That's fantastic.
And she's are you the dean now or the co-dean?
I'm co-dean. I'm the dean of Mission U for the conference for United Women in Faith.
So yeah, connectionalism is
Important. I also want to say that I love the idea that there are 3 United Methodist churches, as you know, in Boulder, and I love that the United Women in Faith units at those churches, they're very invitational and connectional. If they have a mission project, they invite us to go to help, and so we enjoy. We're the smallest of the 3. We don't have an active formal unit, and yet we do meet what we do equates to what UMW is all about. United Women in Faith is all about, and so we do work with other churches. So we like that.
That's the great thing about connectionalism. We're finding more and more area churches are coming together for youth groups,
Right.
or United Women in Faith groups, or Bible studies. Our churches are smaller than they were, and so to really come together in good-sized groups, we're partnering. That's part of what is a blessing of connectionalism. So thank you for the many ways that you live that out, and have a pastor who very much values that as well, and does some really good work at the Board of Ordained Ministry level, and then the district level as well.
I kidded him that he was an adjunct professor at, what was it you were helping with the 4 units.
The
Licensing school.
licensing
You did that
school.
right.
Yeah, kind of help with the students in the licensing school process.
It's important work. It's actually something most local churches don't know. When we take ordination vows, we vow to be connectional and to volunteer when asked. Kind of the language is, will you say yes when asked by the bishop to serve at different levels? And so we are required to be active at the district and the conference level as clergy. And some do it because they have to, and some do it because they enjoy it. And it's important work. So this is kind of the litany that we have. I'll do the superintendent part. Obviously, Charles, if you'll get the pastor part, and then if you all would join together during the congregation section. We have been greatly blessed as participants in the story of Methodism through centuries and across the globe. We've learned what it means to be a connectional church with a greater reach and impact together than in isolation. Even in the midst of disagreements, we are bound together by God's Spirit and Christ's body in mission both locally and globally. Our Mountain Sky Connection, spanning Colorado, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and one church in Idaho, addresses 21st century challenges together, from disasters like war, fires, floods, and storms, to denominational unrest, to a rapidly changing cultural environment. We find common ground in the Wesleyan commitments to personal piety and social holiness. Through Mission Shares, each local church affirms its commitment to God's ongoing work through the Mountain Sky Conference of the United Methodist Church.
As a spiritual leader to this congregation, I commit to keep informed regarding the missional reach of the Mountain Sky Conference and the United Methodist Church. I also pledge to emphasize our connectional ties through participation in mission shares as a top priority for this community of faith.
As United Methodists of the Mountain Sky Conference, we commit to making participation in mission shares a top budget priority and will encourage our officers to do so. If we are unable to meet our full responsibility, which is 13% of adjusted revenue, we will set goals to increase our giving until we reach full participation.
May God help us to be generous people,
Richly blessed to be a blessing. Amen.
I noticed this litany changed a little bit. It used to say, the top priority. Now it says a top priority. Now I'm willing to read along. I'm curious about how that change was decided.
So we've actually changed it again. We have a newer version that came out just a couple weeks ago, so not all of our churches received it. What we found was the form being really focused on mission shares was not what we were trying to communicate. It's really a commitment to connection. Mission shares is not the only way that you can be connectional, and it's not the only way of spending your church finances to be connectional and to serve the community. So the language of the kind of gave this sense that the only way that we value connectionalism is through mission shares, and that's not the case. And so we tweaked it to say a top priority, and then we tweaked it again. The new form, the title is ridiculous. It's like a covenantal commitment to connectional identity. It cracks me up every time I read it.
Good acronym.
Yeah, we don't have an acronym for that one. You would think, right? But it's, you all know, we've been in this season of disaffiliations and really kind of conversations about what it means to be United Methodist. And we needed a statement that included mission shares because, just like you are asked to give to the church, our churches are asked to give to the conference, and the conference is asked to give to the wider church. That's part of connectionalism, is that every time we give to the church, we give to the denomination. And that's a huge part of connectionalism. It's a priority. It's not necessarily the priority. And so we keep trying to tweak the words to really give the message that we mean. And the old form wasn't the message that we meant for it to be.
So what did it change to now? You said it's a newer version?
Yeah, I can read it.
I'm curious.
It's still kind of the same format. The DS has a piece, the pastor and the congregation. So here's what the new one reads. And it's very, very similar. We've been greatly blessed through centuries and across the globe as participants in Christian traditions alive today in United Methodism. We've embodied what it means to be a connectional church with greater reach and impact together than in isolation. Even in the midst of varied cultures and contexts, we are bound together by God's Spirit and Christ's body and in mission both locally and around the world. Our Mountain Sky Connection, spanning Colorado, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and one church in Idaho, addresses 21st century challenges together. We find common ground in Wesleyan commitments to personal piety and social holiness, inspiring us to equip laity and clergy as we raise up and nurture followers of Jesus Christ. By participating in connectional generosity through mission shares, each local church affirms its commitment to God's ongoing work through the Mountain Sky Conference, the Western jurisdiction, and the United Methodist Church worldwide. Then the pastor says, as a spiritual leader to this congregation, I commit to keep informed regarding the missional reach of the Mountain Sky Conference and the United Methodist Church. I also pledge to emphasize our connectional ties through participation in mission shares as a continuing priority for this community of faith. And then the congregation says, As United Methodists of the Mountain Sky Conference and participants in the life of this congregation, we commit to active connectional engagement through our prayers, presence, gifts, service, and
nice.
witness.
Nice.
We commit to make participation in conference mission shares a priority and pray that our generosity will foster our ongoing connectional capacity to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world.
Nice. Beautiful.
I like that.
It's a better statement.
Much better.
Took out the 13%.
We took out the number. So we had this ready a while ago, and it got lost in the updates, and so it didn't get on the website when most clergy got on there and downloaded all the forms, and you know, it was a glitch, and so some of the clergy found the revised one. Others who were, this is what I say to churches, others who had clergy who got on it right away.
Right away?
Downloaded all the forms right away. Have the old form. So actually it's a testament to your clergy's kind of being on top of it, that they have the old form. And so that one will be active next year.
Nice.
And so it's even a better form, and a better statement, I think.
Maybe that's what happened to the pastor compensation form. It didn't make the update.
Yeah.
That was. So.
We're all learning.
Well, like I said, church conference is really a time to celebrate the ministries of the last year. And so we have in here kind of the celebration of 2023 and the highlights or looking forward to 2024. It's not any kind of formal thing that we have to do. It's really great for me actually to learn about you all as a new DS working with you. So I just want to start by asking, what are some highlights or celebrations from 2023?
The parking lot.
Yes, I've lived that. That is true.
The hearing loop.
Oh, the hearing loop.
Oh, yes, the hearing
Has to be.
It's huge.
The trustees, oh my gosh, the whole thing. Basically, we've had people who showed up faithfully every Sunday and sat there and just didn't really know what was going on. And now they have, they say, we can hear. So they can be fully participating. So that has been a boon.
And one slight correction, the first aid kit and AED have been installed. They're not waiting.
As of yesterday.
Nice, okay.
The chair of the trustees
Thanks
was
to Tim
ahead
for-
of that one and got right on the reporter.
It was true when you wrote it.
It was true when I wrote it. Thank you, Steve, for getting that up.
All the narrative reports came from the chairs or the participants on those committees or teams. Is anyone here want to speak to your report? Lift up a highlight or something that you'd like to
Well, I'm on the bump report. Every year I'm thanked that, as it says in the last line there, St. Paul's is the most consistent annual supporter of bump. I'm sure there are people who give larger amounts once in a while, but they appreciate that we are
Faithful.
consistent. Out of all the 7 or 8 or however many, 12 churches, I don't know, 12 churches in Bump, and then wherever else their support comes from. We do it on the most regular basis. So.
Thank you, Tim Cook.
Anyone else?
I would comment that the PATH fund, it's a
Yes.
benevolence fund that we use for rental assistance and utilities for community members who call asking for help. I've seen a lot more activity this year than previous years. There have been more frequent calls for help and more donations coming from our congregation to support it. So I'm really thankful for that.
Amen.
Well, we've adopted a new missionary.
Oh,
Yes.
That came and spoke to us, Christian.
Christian Schlick.
And he's based out of Mexico City. You haven't, I think it's in the newsletter.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's on the blog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, again, not something that's required, but just something that was on I know Scott's
Yes.
heart. And so, that sense of we are part of a work with people that most of us will never see. And that's a testament to your faithfulness.
And I love the idea that we have 3 dinner circles. That's a new one for us. And I mean, there are 10 to 12 people who are in a dinner circle. So you figure at 30 plus people are meeting about quarterly a year in people's homes. And we're a small church family, but the fact that we want to still be with each other outside of the church building is pretty remarkable. So I appreciate the dinner circles.
I noticed that there is a report here about the covenant relationship with Christian Slick that has my name at the end of it. I didn't actually write that, so I would thank whoever did write that.
Oh, bless your heart.
I think I took that from the newsletter.
Which you did mostly right.
It's got passed down in the chair, or up the food tree.
Thanks for including that.
I speak to people frequently who follow the service through Zoom, and I know there are not a whole lot of people there, but the ones who do tune in all the time are very appreciative of that and of the improvements that have been made. I mean, say we can hear the music better, we can hear the choir better, whatever. So Kathy and whoever else works on that.
Kathy Lloyd and Etta Levitt.
It's a good thing for
Kathy Lloyd here. Kathy, wave your hand. She is our Zoom usher, and she welcomes everyone and gets it set up and tracks it during the service. So she's brainstormed a lot of that. Problem solved.
As you see, Belinda is recording this, and it will be up on our YouTube channel later today. And she does that each Sunday for the services. So if you miss a Sunday, or the choir or the bells do something special, and you want to tell your aunt in another state,
they can find it.
You can find it. And during the pandemic, we were able to use recordings from before the pandemic in our services.
In our virtual service.
It added a lot.
And we even recorded during the pandemic by having 8 singers distributed throughout the sanctuary at the appropriate distances, recorded a few postludes and preludes.
Which was
awesome. I know
Suzanne
did it at home, and I think Louise, you did it at home. So we are blessed with that.
Yes.
And during the summertime, the music continues, people step up and do.
Lori Strong Arms people.
Yeah, she's so good, Lori. Thanks, Lori.
But she motivates them in a strong way.
The music program is very strong here. What, they have about 20 in the choir, and the bell choir is, gosh, how many people in the bell choir? 10. I mean, it's very exciting.
And we not have only have someone to play the piano, but we have a rotation. And I was telling someone the other day that I did an interim in western Texas, two little oil field towns, and the one church, a guy got up with a pitch pipe and blew the first note, and then we sang a cappella.
That was it.
That was all the music we had. So to have a variety that we do here is, I appreciate it. So thank you for all of the reports that came in, and
they're interesting to read.
If you have any questions, you know who to talk to.
I have to say a shout out to Charles for being our social media guru, because I'm glad it relaxes him, because to have a website and to have a blog, and which is like a daily newspaper, he's putting a lot of things in there, but he loves to be able to share it, and it's there, then it's a repository for what we can tap into for knowledge.
Right. And it's kept up to date and relevant. I like that.
And the YouTube channel with the videos, and like when Christian Schlick, our missionary, came, we were able to record his presentation, so people who weren't there that evening could watch it, and it was heard a lot of positive response from his visit.
Well, thank you all for coming out on this cold, snowy day for church conference. Appreciate your time, your engagement. the grace for the mistake that we will get corrected, and the willingness to talk through that. Really appreciate the time and getting to know you all a little bit. I would love to close us in prayer. Actually, do you have anything before we close? Okay.
I think I said enough.
Well, then let's close in prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the way you call us into relationship with you and the way you call us to be in relationship with others. I give you thanks for St. Paul's United Methodist Church, for Charles and his leadership, for the congregational leadership, for the laity, for the way in which this community serves its neighborhood, serves you. I give you thanks for their commitment to be in relationship with each other and all your people. In this season of Advent, remind us that you call us to be light into the world. You remind us that Jesus continues to break into our world even now through our love and our grace that we offer each other. Bless this congregation that it may continue to offer Christ's love in new and exciting ways. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Well,
you.
we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much.